What's up guys, James from the Rebel Base Build on a very different type of episode. This is something new to the channel and I hope that you're going to find this cool and useful and all of that stuff. So I get asked quite a lot about the modeling process, not the modeling process, but the 3D modeling process, in particular my thoughts, my intentions and the way I go around seeing something on screen and then recreating it or being inspired by and creating an approximation of that model in my modeling program. Now I use 3D Max. This is not a tutorial on 3D Max. There's loads of awesome tutorials online for 3D Max. And you know, you might already be using your own 3D software, so the concepts are pretty much the same anyway across most of these. Blender, for example, has industry standard settings which kind of mimic 3D Max, and Fusion 360, you know, uses lots of similar kind of shapes. This next door's dog just destroying the postman. Maybe I should go help. Right, moving on. Anyway, for this first episode, I wanted to break down this scene. This is the diorama for the Bad Batch Mount Tattis facility. I think I've got that right. I've really enjoyed the Bad Batch as a Star Wars story. It's been great fun. The show in general has been pretty cool. It's done some really good stuff, I think, and you know, I love the look of everything and the renders and things. It's just a nice show to watch with my son. He's 10 years old. We watched that on a Saturday morning. It's finished now, so we're kind of sad it's gone, but we were both inspired by it. And I was inspired particularly to want to create the facility or part of the facility. And this is certainly in no way screen accurate. And to be honest with you, it's just an approximation of. It's more of an inspirational piece that you might want to print out and use for your figures. So let's break it down. I'm not showing you the 3D modeling process in this particular video because I modeled this off camera, but I thought it would be a nice place to start, and this one will be quite short. Just going to sort of talk about the process I went through and how I did it really, and you know what I was thinking and the hows and the whys. And I'm acutely aware that I'm nearly a 50-year-old bloke talking to you about hows and the whys of 3D modeling a scene from a kids show, but do you know what? That's okay. That's fine. We're all friends here. So what have we got here? We've got a table and 3 stools and a kind of a little slice of a room. Okay, and this room, I guess kind of in the show, it's like a holding area for Omega and her friends. Pretty sure the intentions are not good, you know, it's a holding area, so it's like a prison. And Omega finds herself in there twice. I think, yeah, twice, which is fine. Anyway, what I wanted to do is make something that kind of looked and felt kind of like the furniture that they were using, and they spent a lot of time sitting around the table talking about things like their escape or what have you. And there's some cool scenes, some cool discussions. So I thought that might be quite cool, quite easy, quite quick and simple to do. And it was. So this was a cylinder. It started life as a cylinder. I'm just going to select this and show you my wireframe. Nice and clean. I added quite a few edges to this to make sure that the cylinder appeared smooth. So when you're 3D printing something, you know, as much topology in that 3D print as possible is a good thing, because the more kind of edges there are, the more obvious the lines are, and therefore the less need for sanding, I guess. So lots of programs use a smoothing tool. It's called Turbo Smooth in 3D Max. You can use that to create more topology, which gets rid of those lines and gets rid of those angles or facets on the model that you might see usually. Other than that, I use some extrusion to sort of push these panels inwards, and some chamfering on these corners. Looks a little bit messy. Some of the modelers out there are going to tell me to fix my vertices. Fix your vertices, son. Which I will do. But for 3D printing, it doesn't really matter actually, as long as it looks good, it's smooth, and your slicer doesn't throw up any errors when you load the file. I use Cura to check all of my files, and Cura will tell you if you've got it wrong. You know, it judges you very quickly, which is good though, because it also highlights the issue, so you can go back and fix it. So I use that quite a bit, part of my process. So yeah, that was a cylinder, and like I said, just insert those panels, use the chamfer on those corners to make that kind of nice. And we're talking about the visual language of Star Wars here, so you see these kind of shapes often. There's very rarely ever a hard corner on Star Wars hardware. You know, we like to see those kind of chamfered corners, whether that's, you know, an inset on a wing or an intake or whatever, a greeble that you might see on a wall. Generally they don't have straight corners. They tend to have that kind of little roundiness on there. Roundiness, a bit like me. So that's kind of, that was the thought process there. And also when it's when I get it ready for printing, you're going to be able to separate them out. So this piece here, you could print maybe on its own because it's got a nice flat area here. So that would fit on the print bed. And then those insets would just, you know, print quite nicely. There's no overhangs or anything like that. So nice and clean. This piece here, however, this was difficult. This caused some issues. This caused me some headaches. And I'll tell you why. Let me bring a copy of this. Well, let me bring this piece down and let's have a look at it from a different angle. So what you can see here is kind of a series of drawers, right? I'm guessing these are drawers underneath the table. And how I went about this was I made it once. I made this. Let me turn my edge faces on so you can see this. I made this piece here once. So this piece kind of here. All right. And I inserted the little kind of lip around the drawer. So this would be the drawer front if this was a real sort of Star Wars drawer. And then I proceeded to extrude this piece. And then this whole mess just went back sort of in a nice straight fashion. Then I used what we call the symmetry tool. And the symmetry tool allows you to obviously mirror a piece of geometry, which I did do, but then I altered the pivot of the mirror so that it kind of took that piece and then copied it at an angle like this. And the problem was, I really should have done the math and ensured that I'd worked out the angle and the fractions and made sure there was enough of these pieces to fit equally around the circle. And of course you can see from this view that there's this big piece here. You've got this old big chunky boy. This is the big stuff drawer, right? It's a big stuff drawer, okay? I want to say it was on purpose, that I thought, you know what, we're going to have a big drawer for big stuff, but it wasn't on purpose. It was just, I just didn't work the angle out properly. So I screwed up. But you know what? I don't care because I'm modeling this for fun and it's not an engineering model. It's not something that is going to end up being a piece of furniture. Well, I don't know. Maybe it will. I mean, I'm not going to be doing it, but I've messed this up now. Damn it. Let me try and move that back. There we go. Yeah, so as you go around this, let me turn the wireframe off again. As you kind of move around the table, you see there's like the big boy drawer here for all the big stuff. But it's also an opportunity to fit another switch on it, right? I've got 4 switches on this drawer because it's a big drawer. So yeah, let's move on. Anyway, that's how I did that. And then for these little play pieces on the top of the table, these I just nicked, again, I nicked this, one of the tiles, and you know, I kind of dragged it up here and over here, and then I pivoted it and I made it fit. Just, yeah. One of the reasons why I model quickly is because I reuse pieces quite often. I'll make something, I'll reuse it and then change it up, and there we go. We've got plain pieces on the table. I don't quite know what they are. I'm sure the you know, the dead core fans out there, hardcore fans even, will tell me. There are inscriptions on these pieces in the show, but yeah, I haven't done that. And then of course there's a leg. Every table has a leg, at least one leg, I would say. Yeah. And this was a cylinder. It started life as a cylinder, and I used what we call in 3D Max anyway, a swift loop, which allows you to add extra geometry around the cylinder. And then in which case, whenever you create extra geometry, you're creating extra vertices. And if you select vertices and use scale tools, for example, you can manipulate the mesh in, you know, whichever way you want to. So that's how I went around creating that shape. So it was a cylinder with a bunch of swift loops. I think they're called edge loops in other programs, and that enables you to get that shape where the base of the leg is wider and the middle of the leg is sort of, you know, less wide, and then again sort of expanding at the top as if to support the table. I also went ahead and created some extruded parts. So these kind of, I guess, little feet come out here just to give it a little bit of extra balance, and I did that around the base there. Artistic license. I wasn't really looking at the show too much at this point. I just knew there was a table and I knew it was wider at the bottom, kind of a bit like me. So I did that. And I talked earlier about reusing parts. So I did reuse the leg for the stalls. So I copied it out and I scaled it down until I got it sort of the right size for a stall leg. As you can see, a little bit different. So I changed some things, pulled this down a little bit. But yeah, I'd already made it. So creating the leg of the stall just didn't take very long at all. And then I wanted to create something nice and soft for your butt cheeks. So this piece here, I don't think in the show it has a soft top. I'm not sure it does, but I just created a cylinder, used the relax tool on it, displaced the mesh a little bit to sort of suggest that it's padded and, you know, squishy. And I did that on all of them. Well, I made it once and copied it out and just changed the displacement a little bit. So they're all kind of unique. In the 3D print, it might not come out too much. I think in the resin print, you'd see that quite well. I think on a PLA print, it might kind of look a little bit strange with sort of different levels of layers on there. But, you know, with a bit of sanding, it should still give that impression of a soft covering for one's ass cheeks. So that's the furniture. And they are pretty much ready to go, to be honest with you. There's not much more I need to do to make them print ready. They are kind of watertight. And they're very easy to sort of position on a print bed. I'm going to separate the table up. The stalls, potentially you could slice them right down the middle and then lay them flat, but actually you'd probably get away okay with just printing them like that with supports. So they're ready to go. The diorama, however, is not as far forward. So this started life as a segment from this. This is what I'd created to light my table. I was using this as a display piece when I did the renders. And then I thought to myself, well, I might as well just build part of the facility, since that would be cool for your figures. So at the moment it's just one-sided, so it's nowhere near ready for 3D printing because it's hollow. But I did make this from one piece. I started with a plane and then I used extrusion and insets and all sorts of different tools to basically make this out of one piece of mesh, which is, you know, the right way to sort of 3D model if you can, rather than creating additional elements and merging them and pushing them into meshes. That can get messy, and particularly for 3D printing, if you've got pieces of geometry inside other pieces of geometry, it causes issues. I know this. I learned that when I first started to 3D model for 3D printing, particularly when you start slicing models up and you've got lots of open ends because you've got lots of different pieces inside there. So I now try to model just from one mesh and, you know, manipulate it and extrude it as many times as I can to kind of keep it one piece. It does mean now, however, that I've got to go ahead and obviously fill in these gaps for when I 3D print it, which you can do with some modifiers, but it's going to be fun time anyway. And then these pieces here, these are insets. I used extrusion and insets to sort of lay these out, and it's very Star Wars to see panels like this, sort of panelization with angles on the corners. So that's something you see kind of all over the visual language for Star Wars. It's kind of everywhere. And then a good old vent. This here kind of suggests a vent. Turn my edge faces off again. Kind of looks like a vent, right? You see them everywhere in the Star Wars world. And of course we've got the Imperial lighting, which is a kind of a changed version of what we see, I guess, in the films, the pattern. Again, I glanced at it in the show, didn't really model this particularly on that. I was just inspired by it. I saw this kind of shape, so I thought that would be cool to put that in there. But what I like about it is I think this merges the Imperial design with Camino, right? Which would kind of make sense, I think, taking from the storyline. So you've got the Imperial motif with the lights and the angular doors and the inset panels, but you've also got the panelization on the floor and the curvature at the bottom of the walls. You see a lot in Camino, you know, as you see in the movies and the shows. So that was kind of the thought process behind this. As I said, it's not screen accurate. If anything, it's just kind of alludes to being something you might see at the facility. But in terms of it being a piece that you could display figures in, I think it would probably work quite well. The next step, which I'm not going to be doing in this video because I just wanted to kind of show this as a starting point, is to cut this for 3D printing. That's going to be fun. It's not my strongest point either, so I really need to think about where on the model I end up cutting it, and I need to do some research as well on print bed sizes. I tend to sort of aim for Ender 3, but You know, that's kind of changing. I think the average print bed size is probably now a bit bigger. And that's next. So I may well cover that in an upcoming episode of this style Rebel Base build episode. Anyway, bit of an experimentation. Let me know in the comments if you'd like this kind of stuff, and we'll do more. And I certainly will do more of the actual 3D modeling process. But for now, I just wanted to show this off. This is the latest model that I've got in my editor. It's not hugely detailed. It's not very complex at all, but it's a nice piece and should print quite well. So I might get to printing this in an upcoming full episode where I go through the whole process of printing and painting, etc. But until then, take care.